Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with a new series. There was some music I just didn't get until I heard blank, Performance X. This was your suggestion. I think it's a great suggestion because there was a lot of music I didn't understand until I heard a great performance or a particular performance. And I think maybe this is a salutary lesson for some of you in the need to keep on listening and the benefits of such, especially since our experience of music is based on all kinds of things that we have to sort through. And this is, I think, a really powerful example of that. The work in question was Bach's St. Matthew Passion. And I didn't get it. But the reason I didn't get it, and part of my journey to getting it, I need to relate, and I have to tell you a story. And I hope you'll put up with me. It begins in the second grade. Now, in the second grade, I learned many things, very few of them in school. It was in the second grade that I learned that adults can be stupid. This is a big deal when you're growing up. I'm sure many of you had a similar experience because you respect your parents. You're a little bit afraid of them, intimidated. They know everything. They're supporting you. You're getting fed and clothed, and the world somehow works in a wonderful way, and you're taught to respect adults and to defer to them. But when I got into second grade, I understood something. My second grade teacher, who shall remain nameless, was she was just starting. And I remember vividly, like the first day of school, when she asked us if we had any older brothers of marriageable age. I knew that was a little bit off. You know what I mean? And she was just not the sharpest tack in the box. Let's put it that way. I realized then and there that she was teaching second grade because third grade would have been a real push for her. That was about as far as she was going to get. Now, that was probably the biggest thing I learned in second grade, was that my teacher was an idiot. And that was something that I internalized, I think. And it made me quite the critic, even from that early age. So let us fast forward later into second grade. I mean, with that shocking revelation in mind, and it was a shocking revelation. I remember it vividly. And I had to go to a birthday party, and one of my friend's birthday parties. And I went to this birthday party, and we were just sort of chatting around. And his mother found out that I was Jewish. And she said to me that I was a Christ killer, that the Jews had killed Christ, that I was a member of that murderous crew, and that she did not permit Christ killers in her home. That was an issue. Fortunately, the party was nearly over, but I mean, it was an issue. I felt terrible. I said to her, well, can I call my mother and have her come pick me up? She said she didn't let Christ killers use her phone. So I sat by the side of the road until my mother came to pick me up. At the time, she was going to come pick me up. I mean, this is my second grade recollection, so I may be fuzzy on some of the details, but in the main, that's what happened. And I explained this whole thing to my mother, who basically said she was an idiot, and this woman. And I had a wonderful, wonderful moment of schadenfreude much later when I was like in high school and found out that her son was dating a girl who was Jewish. And I said, yes, absolutely. But it was a depressing moment, let's put it that way. And I had this idea because I was growing up, remember, in the 60s. It was still the 60s, at a time when official Christendom was undergoing something of a revolution about its attitude toward Jewish things and the Jews and the liturgy. The Second Vatican Council, all that stuff was going on. And there was a heck of a lot of anti-Semitism out there. I was shielded from most of it, I really was, but I had it in school, and I had it among my friends, and it was this collective guilt business about the Jews killing Christ that people used to dig you with, you know? It was very disconcerting when I was a kid. I didn't believe it. I didn't like it, but that didn't make it any more pleasant. So then we come to the St. Matthew Passion, where you have this crowd of Jews going, kill him, and choosing Barabbas. You go through. That's the story. See, I didn't know the New Testament, so I didn't know the background to this story. I just knew that these idiotic people were running around blaming me for the fact that Jesus died. To which my response was, well, you know, wasn't that, according to you, God's plan that Jesus should die? So why are you blaming us? You know, I mean, there was all kinds of argument back and forth and nonsense back when I even cared about what these people thought. I no longer do. And so when I saw the story, it became clear to me where all of this vitriol was coming from. And so I really didn't like the story. And that kind of stuck with me. It really did. I mean, as I got older, of course, and I realized that, you know, this was another faith. These people were entitled to believe what they wanted, and here was the story. I intellectually, I knew that, you know, it wasn't Bach's fault that people were saying these things, but I still disliked the story. It made me feel queasy. In a way, it still does. I mean, it's a queasy story. It's a very dramatic, exciting story. If it hadn't been related to, you know, the physical manifestation of you know, murderous hatred on the part of a large part of humanity, I suppose I could enjoy it more abstractly. But I didn't like it. I just didn't like it. So then we come to the actual work, and I had the Klemperer recording, which first chorus, oh my God, blew me away. I mean, that opening chorus is astonishing, unbelievable. And it was horrendously long. I mean, it's 3.5 hours long with endless da capo or aria things. I don't know, you know, they have like, you know, they're what they called aria concertante. I learned in music appreciation. You know, you've got a voice and a solo instrument and a harpsichord underneath clanging along, and some hooty alto going, you know, and there's a solo something on top, and they're all just, and you think it's over, then it starts again, and oh my gosh, it was enough to make you crazy. The choruses I loved. I really did. Of course, I was rooting for the Jews, so it was like, you know, I enjoyed the turba parts. And I enjoyed all the Jesus stuff because he had that beautiful halo of strings and all that. But the piece was just terribly long. And the story just completely distasteful to me. And I avoided it. I just avoided the piece. You know, even though I was told that the Klemperer recording, of course, was like hideously long and slow and all that. That never occurred to me. I was just getting at the essential meaning of the words and the music, which seemed to be uniformly grim and depressing, and it was just awful. It was as far away from anything I was prepared to deal with as any piece of music could be. Then, in my professional capacity as a critic, well, it wasn't even that. I wasn't even a critic. In 1985, it was, because I remember the date very well. Harmonia Mundi issued the first Philippe Herreweghe recording with the Collegium Vocale Ghent and a cast that included, wait a minute, I have it right here. Here they are. Howard Crook, Ulrich Kohl, Barbara Schlick, René Jacob, Hans-Peter Blockwitz, and Peter Cooey. There we go. With the La Chapelle Royale Paris in the Collegium Vocale Ghent under Philippe Herreweghe. Now, in 1984, I didn't even know what Harmonia Mundi was. I mean, I was just a collector, and I did not know, like, who these people were. They were all new names to me. The whole period instrument thing was just kind of like, who cares? You know, it wasn't a big deal. I didn't think about it. And I listened to this recording, and the heavens opened. It blew me away. Why? Well, because, first of all, the opening chorus had this beautiful lilt to it. It was a real Siciliano, which is what it is. It's a Siciliano. And, you know, dum, ba, bum, rhythm. it just had such lyricism, such sweetness, such warmth, even with period instruments. They just had this dark and fuzzy and nice, fluffy. I don't know how to describe it. This beautiful, beautiful sound. The whole thing moved. It had flow. The soloists were terrific. Okay, Rene Jacob, I could do without. Herreweghe re-recorded it 15 years later, around 1999, and he had Andreas Scholl instead. I was never into countertenors. Still not so much. I mean, they're better than they were, but that was never my thing. But I could deal with it. I could deal with it. I could always skip Erbarme dich. I mean, everybody thinks that's the most moving, aria that Bach ever wrote or something like that. And I feel the same way about that as I do. He was despised in the Messiah. I could just boop, move over and get on with it. But, in a beautiful performance, of course, it's lovely. But the piece itself really finally struck me as the deeply moving and human story that it really is. I mean, it was so difficult for me to get past my past and to actually start to enjoy and I mean enjoy. See, not enjoy, understand. It's about enjoyment. It's about pleasure. Even the St. Matthew Passion is about pleasure. If you don't feel pleasure when you listen to it, unless you're a total self-lacerating Lutheran, you are not going to get the St. Matthew Passion. And it's a major investment of time and effort. It really is. And so I needed that recording. I needed a different approach, a different perspective, something that made it sound new and fresh and immediate to me. And Herreweghe's recording did all of those things. Now, it's available. It's been reissued a million different times. They're all over the place. I mean, I may talk about it separately one of these days shortly, I think, maybe, if I can find it in the pile here. But it really is difficult to differentiate between the two of them, because they were rather similar performances, 1984 and 1999, 2000, whenever it was, with their different casts. But the performances are quite similar. I prefer the first one because it's the one I imprinted on, I think. It's the one that had a special meaning for me. But they are beautiful, beautiful performances. And Herreweghe's Bach is like that generally. I really, really like his Bach because it all has that a certain gentleness that tempers the severity of the music, because Bach is nothing if not severe, and when you play it with that kind of emotional kindness, I can only say, it makes a huge difference. It did to me. So that is the performance that helped me find my way into the St. Matthew Passion. It's still not one of my favorite pieces. It's not something I'm going to listen to every 15 minutes, but it's a piece that I respect, that I admire, that I think I understand, that I enjoy listening to at those times when I'm in the mood and I'm ready to appreciate what it has to offer. So there you go. I hope that that's helpful to some of you as a story of how music and life intersect, and how everybody's going to have their own approach. We're all going to bring our own psychological and emotional baggage to the experience of listening, and you never know what's going to do it for you. The only thing we can do is keep on listening. So thank you so much for joining me, friends, and take care.